Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome. And am I pronouncing your name correctly, Dr. Simran, or can you tell me how?
Yeah, no, it's Simran. But yeah, that's fine. So yeah, no, my name's Dr. Simran. I am a triple board certified doctor in internal medicine, hospice and palliative care, and lifestyle medicine, as well as a plant-based enthusiast, health and wellness coach, culinary coach, um, all the things. I've also been a patient, so I have that experience. That's how I came to plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine. And I am one of the contributors this year to the Vegan Health Bundle. One of my passions is understanding mindset and why we do the things we do. And so I've kind of been on this journey of personal development, personal growth, understanding mindset. And so that's actually my contribution to this year's bundle, because there were so many amazing recipes already. I was like, okay, we don't need one more recipe book. So let me add something different. So my book is all about mindset.
Okay, that's beautiful. I love that topic, mindset and belief, and so much of what we believe shows up in our lives and our health. So I'm excited to get into that. So before, tell us about your plant food journey and how you got to this point of incorporating plants, into your life and medicine, and how that has affected your health and those around you.
Yeah. I would love to do that. Before I do, I wonder if I mentioned the bundle a couple of times. I always like to just mention what it is for people that maybe are just joining and don't really know. But Rosie and I are participating in something called the Vegan Health Bundle. It's not just for vegan people. In fact, it's for anybody that is looking to, add more plants to their plate, improve their lifestyle, get more movement in. It is an incredible treasure trove of lifestyle medicine and plant-based nutrition resources. I think there's over 100 contributors and over 150 pieces of content. Amazing recipes from chefs and plant-based enthusiasts, courses by plant-based doctors, master classes, coupons. I mean, so much. I think the value is over $8,000, and until tomorrow, I think it's only available till tomorrow. And I know it's only available till tomorrow, and it's only $49. So it is literally what I wish I had when I first decided to go plant-based and was learning about the power of plant-based as medicine. And so it has everything you need. So if you're interested, you can check out the bio. It's in the bio for Rosie and for I. So just check it out and see what you think. Everything is on the website. In terms of how I got here, when I was 26, I basically found out that I carry a genetic mutation that radically increased my lifetime risk of breast and ovarian cancer. It's called the BRCA1 genetic mutation. Just for reference, the average woman's risk is about 12% in her lifetime. So by the time she's 75, she has a 12% risk of breast cancer. The statistic I was given at 26 was an 87% lifetime risk of breast cancer, and a 50 to 60% lifetime risk of ovarian cancer. So, when you have these hereditary predispositions or genetic mutations, you have a really high risk of getting these cancers. Usually everybody has these BRCA1 genes, and they're actually protective genes. So when they're working right, they protect us from certain cancers. But when they don't work right, then they put us at higher risk. So I come from a long family history. My mom's a 2-time breast cancer survivor. There's been about 9 or 10 women on her side of the family who have had breast or ovarian cancer. So being a doctor, I also knew way too much. Around the time where I found out about my mutation, I was also doing my fellowship in palliative care. So I was caring for a lot of people near the end of life, at least physical life, and a lot of young people with breast, ovarian cancer, and the likes. And so for me, it was a really challenging time trying to navigate being a patient and doing the things I needed to do, but also seeing what was kind of a reflection of what I felt like my future was. And I asked my doctors, like, okay, what is it that I can do to reduce my risk? What can I, so obviously they gave me all the science, the data on BRCA. I have BRCA1. And or Simran, I'm not sure what you mean by ignoring. Can you maybe tell us what you mean? But yeah, I have the BRCA1 genetic mutation, but BRCA2 is another one. So I was like asking my doctors, like, what can I do to reduce my risk? And they gave me all the science, the data on, do the risk reducing surgeries, do screening, there's medications, and all of that. And which, as a doctor, I understood all that. And there was going to be a time and place where all of that made sense for me. And it did. When I turned 32, I had a risk reducing mastectomy. I had a total hysterectomy at the height of COVID, actually. But in those 7 years between 26 and 32, I needed to finish my training. I needed to have my children. I needed to do all the things I needed to do. And so I needed something to gain back some control in my life. And basically I was like, what can I do from a lifestyle perspective? And every single one of my doctors was like, there's nothing you can do. Like, this is not a lifestyle thing. There's nothing you can do. You have a genetic mutation. And that's when I kind of was like, okay, I don't take no for an answer. So I, on a late night Google search, found Dr. Michael Greger, read his book in like 3 days, How Not to Die, and then listened to it on audio another like 5 times, consumed all this research and science on plant-based nutrition that I had never heard about in med school, I had never heard about in residency, and just was kind of mind blown by the whole thing as like, why didn't I know this information? And so fast forward, I just dove right in. We went vegetarian in 2015. And then I, got pregnant back to back. In 2018, we went whole food plant-based, and, my children are 5 and 7. They've been whole food plant-based since conception, pretty much. And yeah, I, did all over the last 10 years, I guess I could say I've done probably more training and education in plant-based nutrition, lifestyle medicine, and mindset than everything I learned in medical school and residency combined. So I've done like more courses, more certifications, more everything in the last 10 years to share this message, because it is so incredibly powerful, especially from my perspective as someone who takes care of people near the very end. And most of these people have advanced stage diseases that mostly are chronic, lifestyle related diseases. So that's why I'm part of the bundle. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm on social media sharing the message that there's so much more in our control than we're told, to reduce our risk of cancer and heart disease and diabetes and metabolic dysfunction, all the things that, are plaguing our society today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so wonderful to hear from a doctor and hear your journey and how, you mentioned, you weren't taught these, I guess, natural ways, you would say, or nutritional aspect of healing in medical school. So you took that upon yourself to research and find out and use that on your healing journey, correct?
Yeah. And what I think one of the things that I've learned as a palliative care physician, caring for the sickest of the sick people, is that there's one thing that we all value as human beings, and that is our autonomy. It's probably the greatest force of being human, having the ability to feel like you can do for yourself and feel like you're in control of your life. And I think the beauty of our lifestyle and the beauty of the foods that we're eating is that these are things that we're doing every single day. You don't have to go into a hospital or into a doctor's office, or it doesn't require, going to get testing, all the things you do in the medical world that make you feel out of control of your life, make you feel helpless at times. I think as a patient, your lifestyle is what gives you back control. And at the same time, it's the greatest investment that can make, not just to reduce risk of disease, but to treat disease and to improve your quality of life. And it's something that I've started to incorporate with even my sickest patients, you know, and that's what, like, the power of eating plants is that even if it doesn't go to reverse your disease, even if it just improves your quality of life, meaning it gives you energy and it reduces your pain and, you know, it allows you to sleep better, it helps your mental health or your mood, because eating plants is extremely anti-inflammatory. And we know that all the things I just mentioned do improve with eating more plant-based, eating more whole foods. And so if you are living with a serious illness, even just to wake up every day and to feel good is a huge thing. And that's what, you know, a plant-based diet can do, or that's what movement can do, or that, you know, that's what a good social circle of people can do. Like, every pillar of lifestyle medicine allows us to live the best life that we can live. And that's ultimately why we're all here anyways, right? Like, there's a lot of things medicine can do to prolong our life. But people don't just want to live a long time. They want to live a good life. So you don't want to just exist. You want to live. And I think that's what your lifestyle allows you to do.
Live and thrive and enjoy the time. Yeah, I love that. And
Yeah.
how do you incorporate all of the mindset and the belief? Do you practice that like with your clients, or do you have courses on that? I know you have something in the bundle.
I do. So I created this ebook, and it's really more of an experiential journey called Vitality Abundance. And it's essentially the process that I walked myself through at 26 to today. You know, when you're 26 and your mom got cancer twice, and there's been 9 women in your family who have had cancer, and you take care of dying people with cancer, and now you're giving a genetic mutation, being told you have an 87% lifetime risk of cancer, it would be pretty easy to just be like, okay, well, this is my destiny. Clearly, all the signs are telling me that this is it. Like, this is going to be my life. So I should just accept it and, you know, whatever, YOLO, right? But with that mindset, with that victim mindset, with that disempowering mindset, what we know is that you're going to end up making even more poor choices, because you're just going to feel like nothing you do is going to help you, right? And so what I realized very quickly is that, like I said, there's more control that I have over my life than I am being told by my doctors and my medical team. And for me, it was actually one of my patients that sparked that idea for me. She was 40 years old and also carried the BRCA1 mutation, and I was taking care of her in hospice, and she was dying from ovarian cancer, and she found out in the last few days of her life that I also had the same mutation as her. And so she said to me, she's like, you know, Simran, do whatever you need to do to live a full life. Like, don't let this happen to you. It doesn't have to happen to you. Be here for your future kids. And she lit something inside of me. And at that point, I didn't even know about Dr. Greger. I didn't know about plant-based nutrition. I didn't know about anything, but I knew that there was a reason that all of this was happening, and that this was going to not only change my whole life for the better, but it was going to go on to serve hundreds and thousands of people. Like, this was now gonna, my pain, my greatest pain was going to become my purpose. At 26, I didn't know how, but here, this week I turned 36. So it's a decade later, and I can't even explain in words how this genetic mutation changed my whole life for the better, because I decided that it was going to change my life for the better. Now, I don't live in a woo-woo world. It doesn't mean that, you know, I'm not at risk, I mean, of disease or of cancer still. I still have the genetic mutation, but I just choose not to let it put me in a cage, right? And so I think that's what this book does, is that it helps you uncover your limiting beliefs, or what I call your abundance blocks. And a belief is nothing but a state of certainty. And that state of certainty comes from the many years of life experiences that we've had. Or beliefs are formed from the people in our life, or the people at work, or social media, or the news. That's how we develop beliefs. So beliefs can be created and beliefs can be destroyed. And I think when we understand that, we can change our whole life. Because so many people are stuck with these limiting beliefs, believing that that is their life and there's nothing they can do to change it. But once you know, recognize that it's just a belief and that you can turn it into something empowering, you can change the questions you're asking yourself, you can do so much more to change your whole life, right? And when you have a positive belief system, then you are going to take very good quality action. And when you take quality action, you're going to get good results. And when you get good results, you're going to tap into your greatest potential. And this is a success cycle. Whereas if you start with the victim mentality, well, then you're going to take shitty action. You're just going to say, well, I can't do it. And if you take shitty action, we're going to get shitty results. And if you get shitty results, you're never going to tap into who you are and who you can be. And so that is basically what this whole book walks you through. It's meant to be an experience, and it's all the things that I've used over the past 10 years to become who I am today. And everything starts up here. So if there's a lifestyle you want, you have to first address the belief system you have before you can translate it into that lifestyle. So that's what the book does. I think it's extremely important because we don't give enough credit to this up here. We just focus on the how. Like, I need to learn how to cook. I need to go to the grocery store. I need to, start working out. We focus on the how, but you need to start with the why, and you need to start with the mindset.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. What do you think about belief also, like how it plays a role in the brain function of actually enabling a person like to get better, to heal? Because I've heard of that too, where like it actually sends certain chemicals or reactions that will actually create that healing in the body just because of the belief.
I mean, I think like it's all about agency and self-efficacy, right? So for me in med school, I didn't learn any of this, right? Even from the mindset perspective. Now, I will say, guys, I'm not trying to hate on med school. I learned a lot in med school, and I'm a really good doctor because I went through med school, because I did residency, because I've taken care of thousands of people over the last 10 years. But there's a lot of things that I've learned since my training that actually have a greater impact to change people's lives, because it's proactive medicine. It's a proactive belief system. See, once you hit the medical system, now it's going to be reactive. It's medications and testing and all of that. It doesn't really address the root cause of disease. And so what we're talking about here is really addressing the root cause and prevention of disease and allowing people to live their best life. And I think, this is what I learned in my coaching training. For human beings, autonomy, control, self-efficacy, self-agency is so important. And so when you have a belief that okay, there's confetti falling down my screen. It's the new Instagram. It's whenever I move,
you go like this or something.
You move your hands a certain way, and then you have all this stuff show up. But when you have a belief in your head that I can do this, right? Then you are, like I said, the success cycle. You are going to tap into good quality action Like, you are going to do whatever it takes to get that thing done. And once you start to gain momentum and prove to yourself that, yes, I can do this. Like, wow, you know, I said I was going to eat, you know, 3 days of meatless meals a week, and I said I was going to do this for a week, and now I'm on week 3, and wow, I've lost 5 pounds. Like, wow, I really can do this. And so once you increases your self efficacy and your momentum and your belief in yourself, and all of that is going to lead to release of these happy chemicals that you're talking about in the brain, neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, and, you know, all these hormones that, you know, we artificially try to increase by taking antidepressants. But when we show ourselves what we're capable of by taking, you know, setting small goals and completing those goals, we can increase our happy hormones naturally like that. And then, not to mention, you know, as we're talking about plants, 90% of our neurotransmitters are actually created in our gut. And so if we feed our microbiome and our gut bacteria more fiber, more whole plant-based foods, we are going to naturally feel better and happier and have less anxiety and less depression, because our neurotransmitters are being, you know, created in our gut. So I think I can't say that, you know, I can't say that I know the science of like, oh, having a positive belief directly will lead to development of, you know, happy hormones or neurotransmitters in your brain. But I can say that, you know, if you're feeding your gut the foods it needs, you will create an abundance of neurotransmitters. And if you are, you know, if you have a belief in yourself and you set goals and you achieve them, and you build yourself momentum and self-efficacy, that will lead to the development of happy hormones and boosts in neurotransmitters and all of that.
Okay, wonderful. So belief is so important, you guys. Thank you for sharing all of that. Now, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what does your typical diet look like? What is a day in your life, you know, with eating and healthy habits and mindset?
Well, for me, my morning routine is really, really important. So I incorporate some form of movement in the morning, and some form of, I try to keep it simple. I have young kids, so it doesn't look exactly the same every day. So, you know, whatever I can do that morning and the time that I have is what I do, but I do something. So some form of movement, some form of like meditation, breathing, or gratitude. And I keep it really simple, you know, like 3 things I'm, you know, grateful for, a positive affirmation for the day, or what I'm looking forward to in that day, something like that. And then basically, you know, I do a little bit of meal prepping on the weekend. I think that's really key, because if you plan to fail, you know, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So meal prepping is really key. I would say for breakfast, it's either a big bowl of oats with nuts and fruits, and either that's like for 1 week, we'll do that like for 5 days. And then the following week, I will have batch prepped a big bag of waffles. My kids love waffles. And it's really the same ingredients, just in a different form. So these are made from oats and bananas, and some spices. And then, you know, the 3rd week for breakfast, we might have, you know, chia seed pudding with fruits. This is from your recipe book. I changed it up a little bit, but I made, I had some mango in the fridge and some coconut. So I pureed some mango and coconut and added it to the chia seed pudding. So this looks really, really good. And then, yeah, and then lunch is usually some form of a salad and or leftovers from the day before. And then dinner, you know, we do a little bit of everything. I'm Indian, so I cook a lot of Indian food, a lot of lentils, a lot of chickpeas, a lot of whole grains. I try to change it up from day to day. You know, 2 or 3 times a week we'll have Indian food, and then on Tuesdays is always like Taco Tuesday or burrito or something like that. But essentially, you know, different cuisines, but the ingredients are all the same. So tons of veggies, especially leafy greens, tons of mushrooms, tons of cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower, and tons of whole food soy. So things like tofu and soybeans and edamame. Those are all foods that have particularly been shown to be good for breast cancer risk reduction. So I incorporate a lot of those foods. I'm also in menopause. So all of these foods are really, really important because they have shown to help with menopausal symptoms as well, like hot flashes and other vasomotor symptoms. And then because of that, I have to watch for my bone health. So and my heart health and my brain health. And so the beauty is when you're following a plant-based diet, the same foods help with all of the things. So whether you're trying to reduce your risk of cancer or reduce your risk of heart disease or prevent dementia, you know, a diet rich in whole plant foods with fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, beans, legumes is a variety of all of that is the best way to reduce your risk of all of these diseases. And while I have a genetic mutation, if you actually look at the statistic from CDC, it's 70% of the chronic illnesses that we're dealing with today. So, you know, heart disease being the #1 killer in men and women. And there's diabetes, metabolic dysfunction, cancer. 70% of these are actually lifestyle related diseases. And so, you know, if you feel that, and this is kind of part of our society now, it's like, you know, have high blood pressure, have high cholesterol, have diabetes. Like this is kind of the norm now because so many people have these diseases that it's just considered normal to be on a high blood pressure pill or a high cholesterol pill. You know, preteens and teenagers are now being treated for these diseases, which were never pediatric diseases. They were always adult onset diseases. But because of the way we eat, this ultra processed standard American diet, people are getting diagnosed with these diseases even in, you know, childhood and teenagehood. And so it's not meant to be that way. Let me just put it that way. And a lot of times people, when they hear what I do as a palliative care doctor, they're like, oh gosh, I hope I never have to see you, right? But here's the enlightening thing. The high blood pressure, the high cholesterol, the diabetes, the metabolic syndrome, after having, and metabolic syndrome is like, you know, obesity, fatty liver, diabetes, you know, those sorts of things. After years of having these things is what leads to the massive heart attack, is what leads to the stroke, is what leads to the loss of vision or the kidney failure needing dialysis or the amputation because of bad blood supply. You know, you don't just wake up one day and get those things. And those are the people that I take care of, people that have very advanced disease. A lot of my patients have had transplants, heart transplants, LVAD, like really, really advanced medical therapies. But you don't get there overnight is my point. It starts with high blood pressure. It starts with high cholesterol. It starts with high blood sugar and elevated insulin levels. And over years, you get to that point. And the beauty is when we start going from an ultra processed standard American diet to incorporating more whole plant foods, not only can you reduce your risk of these diseases, but, you know, doctors like Dean Ornish, Caldwell Esselstyn, you know, T. Colin Campbell, all of them have taken patients with disease, with heart disease and other diseases, and they've shown how you can actually treat and reverse these diseases by simply eating a whole food plant-based diet. Now you add exercise on top of that, you sleep well, you do all the other pillars of lifestyle medicine, and you really will be able to fix many of these diseases. And the one thing that I'll tell you is, again, medicine has its role. Modern medicine is amazing in some instances. I benefited from it. But what I will tell you is if you have high cholesterol, if you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure and you're not addressing the root cause, which is your lifestyle, and you're going to the doctor over weeks, months, and years, your dosages for your medication are only going to go up. You're likely going to just keep adding more pills. You know, most of my patients take like 20 to 25 pills. Okay. And so the pills only are a band-aid. They kind of just slow the progression of the disease, but with the pills, you'll never reverse the disease. So I think that's really, really important to remember.
Yeah, and with those patients that you treat, that you care for, are they on a plant-based diet-rich diet now at that stage? Are they still heavily, you know, incorporating that to help?
You know, because of what I do, it's kind of, by the time I'm seeing a lot of people, many of them are very much near the end. And so you have to really weigh the risks and benefits of talking about lifestyle. It's not necessarily appropriate for every single person, depending on, you know, if someone's in there, that's not something you're going to bring up. But I will say that now I recently had a shift in my job, so I'm not seeing people in the hospital as much anymore, and the people in the hospital are the sickest ones. Now I'm starting to see more outpatients. I'm seeing people at home, and these are people who are living with serious illness, but they're still functional, they're still independent, they're still, you know, making meals and all of that. So talking about lifestyle, talking about nutrition has become a big part of our conversations, and people are so grateful too, because again, like I said, when they've like just talking about the basic things, like, do you know what fiber is? Like, most people don't even realize what fiber is. They don't realize the power that fiber carries. And so just educating my patients on these small tidbits at every visit, I can see by the end of the visit, they have a huge smile on their face because they've been enlightened. It's like, wow, why didn't I know this? And just recently I was seeing somebody who has had bloating. He told me, I've had bloating my whole life. Like, and ever since I had my heart transplant, it's only gotten worse, and I'm hungry, but I can't eat because I'm bloated. And he also is just constipated. And so, you know, we talked a little bit about it, some of dietary changes that he could make. And I suggested the world is actually lactose intolerant. And we just are never really told that, because dairy is such a big part of the society and the culture, and so much more that I could say there, which I'll just, you know, we don't need to go into that. But most of us are actually lactose intolerant. And so most of us live with these symptoms related to dairy, and we just don't realize it. Constipation, bloating, you know, not being able to digest, you know. And so I was like, you know, why don't you just, you know, do a little trial off dairy and see what you do. I said, you don't have to do it for perfection, right? So like if you're going out to eat and they put butter or cream or whatever, it's okay, because that you can't control it. But at home, why don't you swap your, you know, full fat dairy milk for, you know, an unsweetened soy milk, and you know, swap your yogurt for, you know, whatever, almond yogurt, or, you know, I gave him some ideas on how to swap. And I saw him 3 weeks later, and he had the biggest smile on his face. He was like, you know, doc, I have to tell you, he's like, I haven't been as bloated since I've seen you. I was like, oh, really? Tell me what you did. He's like, I really took the dairy thing seriously. And he's like, I just cut it out. And he's like, I haven't been as bloated. He's like, I'm actually eating to satiation. So he's like, I'm eating and I feel full and I feel good. Like my bowels seem better. And he's like, and I've lost 5 pounds. And I'm like, you know, that is the power. It's like, and it's just one change he made. So now imagine he stacked some more changes, he would, you know, see even more benefit. And we don't realize that dairy is, you know, especially cheese. Dairy cheese is the the highest form of saturated fat in the standard American diet. So to me, it's like, okay, you have advanced heart disease and you are waiting for a heart transplant, you know, saturated fat is the worst thing for your heart. But again, it's not the education we give people in the hospital, because so much of it is focused on medications and testing and management, that we forget, you know, the basics, which are actually the most important.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Could you touch on the soy again? Somebody had a question on the soy. They thought that it wasn't good to have. So I thought maybe you could share a little more on the positive benefits that it has, because that is a misconception out there, I think.
Yeah, you know, what I would say is that we now have hundreds and thousands of studies in humans to show that whole food soy consumption is actually not just good, beneficial for heart health, particularly for cholesterol. It's really great for breast cancer risk reduction, especially if you've had recurrence. It's great to help with menopausal symptoms, vasomotor symptoms. You know, I think that the misconception with soy is because soy contains something called phytoestrogens. And so, like I said, most doctors aren't really educated in plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine. And so it's just kind of like if a patient says, oh, should I eat this? And they're like, oh, there's phytoestrogens. Well, I don't know. Let's just avoid it just in case. But like, you know, they don't know the research. And so again, if you actually look at the research, what we know is that it is safe, and that plant estrogens, which are phytoestrogens, don't work in the body the same as human estrogens. In fact, phytoestrogens, also known as isoflavones, actually have an anti-estrogenic effect in our body. So they do the opposite. So they're actually protective. It's protective for breast cancer, and it's protective for all the things that we would think it causes, but it doesn't.
Okay.
What I would say though is, particularly in this world of vegan food, vegan processed food, vegan junk food, I would just be careful with the type of soy you're consuming, right? So you want to consume whole food soy. So things like tempeh and miso and edamame and tofu and unsweetened soy milk is fine too, because it's considered minimally processed. So that's how, and whole soybeans. And so, you know, soy is a legume. It comes from, it's like a, so it has all the other great benefits. It's extremely high in plant-based protein. It's a really good source of fiber. You know, if you were looking for a good quality afternoon snack, a cup of shelled edamame beans will give you 7 to 8 grams of fiber and will give you almost 17 grams of protein. Like, and that is without any added sugar, that is without any added cholesterol, that is without any bad fat. In fact, soy has healthy fats in it. So, and then on top of that, you're getting all the vitamins, the minerals, the calcium, like all the other things that it has to offer. So I actually consider it a super bean, like it's a super legume, because you're getting the protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals, but then you're getting the isoflavone effect, which has been shown to have all the benefits I just mentioned. So you're good there.
Okay, wonderful. And what role does stress play? Because stress is so essential, right? And can cause so much havoc in the body. What could you share with us about stress reduction and just how important it is to control that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you could be, and that's why I think having a holistic approach, you know, to our life and our lifestyles is really, really important. You know, you could eat a really clean diet and eat all the plants and do all of that, which is really anti-inflammatory and great for all the reasons we discussed. But then on the other side, you know, if you are someone who is just stressed out all the time, meaning every little thing that happens stresses you out, like traffic, or you know, stubbing your toe, or something somebody said to you, or whatever, all the little things, right, that just happen in life. Having to wait in line at the store, you know, all the little things. If you are somebody who perceives perseverates over every little thing and gets mad and angry and frustrated, know that that is actually affecting your biochemical system. Like, it is affecting your physiology, because when you are mad and angry and frustrated and, you know, stressed, you're increasing your cortisol level. And cortisol is going to activate what we call our flight or fight system. That's our sympathetic nervous system. It's the system that tells our body that it's in danger. It's the system that our ancestors like relied on because the saber-toothed tiger was gonna chase us, right? So that's when you want to be stressed, because you need your body to go into, like, you know, I need to run mode. But most of us just stay in that mode all the time today. Every little thing stresses us out. And now we're on autopilot that we don't even realize that we're stressed out or that we're anxious or that we're frustrated. And this is bad, because if you live in a high cortisol state, if you are constantly activating your adrenaline, you are a set of like hormonal cascades in your body that lead to chronic inflammation. So when you have, when you have high cortisol, just as an example, when you have high cortisol, you're also spiking up your insulin. And so that can then lead to metabolic dysfunction, and that can lead to weight gain. And, you know, all of that can lead to excess inflammation and chronic inflammation in your body. And high levels of cortisol all the time, high levels of insulin all the time are actually aging our body. So there's a great book that just came out, actually Dr. Michael Greger's most recent book called How Not to Age. And he goes through this in such a beautiful way. And so I think, you know, coming back to the mindset piece, like, there's a lot of things that are not in our control in our everyday life, right? Like on the road or at the workplace, or even with our kids. You know, we think we can control our kids. Like they do things, like I yelled at my kids this morning because they just pushed my buttons so much sometimes, right? But like, the whole point of this is not to say that don't be human. Like, it's important to have reactions, right? It's important to get upset and be frustrated and get angry and let that out, because you don't want to keep it in. But it's important not to live in that state, right? It's important to live in a beautiful state, because when you live in a beautiful state, then you're going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And that is everything we were talking about earlier about, you know, the happy hormones and the neurotransmitters to keep us in a joyful state. And that's really, you know, there's a triangle that I like to go by that really defines what your state is. So how do we live in a beautiful state? And the first part of that is what we talked about earlier is, you know, what's your belief system? What kind of questions do you ask yourself? Is life happening, you know, to me, or is life happening for me, right? So that's your beliefs, right? And then there's the language piece. Like, what are the words that you use to describe your life, right? Like, is life always a challenge? Is life always hard? Or is life an adventure? Is life, you know, fun, right? So both of them could be used to describe the same situation. But if you always feel like life is hard, life is a challenge, you're always going to be stressed out, right? Whereas if you think, you know, this is happening for a reason, let me figure out what it is. It could be fun. It's a new adventure, you know? So what's the meaning you give every situation in your life? Because the story that you create is going to create a very different biochemical process in your body. And the different hormones that will be activated all really start, kind of what you were talking about earlier, all really start with, you know, what do you think about this situation right now? You know, what meaning are you giving it? And then the bottom, the last thing that defines our state and allows us to live in a beautiful state is all the other things we were talking about, which is really everything you do with your physical body or your physiology, the way that you move, the way you hydrate, the food you eat, the way, the sleep, the people you connect with. So this is a really holistic approach to health and well-being, because you could do everything right. Like, you could exercise, you could eat well, but if this part up here, if you're always, you know, can't shut this off and can't control this, or have very negative belief system, then you're still going to live in a state of chronic inflammation that can still lead to disease. So you know, if you're listening to this, you're probably like, holy crap, like that's a lot of stuff I have to think about. It is, right? But that's the beauty of being human, and that's the beauty of grace and recognizing that every day is a new day where you can make different choices for yourself. And it's not about perfection. It's about doing all of these things to create, you know, an abundance mindset, and to create a beautiful life, and to create a beautiful quality of life. And you know, I can tell you again from the stories that I hear from my patients, like, if you think it's too late, it's not too late. It's, you know, there's somebody who's taking their last breath right now. So if you woke up today, it's not too late. It's actually just another opportunity. So it's just about the way you look at things.
Yeah, every day is a chance for a new beginning, I like to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I taught at a vocational college for 16 years, and I taught a class on beliefs and strategies for success. And I would have my students do their affirmations, and they would make like a poster board, and then they would present it, and they would have like all the pictures of everything that they wanted in their lives or they wanted in their future. And it was just so fulfilling to hear from so many of them as the years passed that those things came to fruition, and how it changed the trajectory of their life because they set their beliefs on the right thing, and they started to surround themselves by, you know, people who were positive and encouraging, and learned to not accept other people's opinions as their own. Yeah. You know, when, you know, people spoke negative about them or discouraged them, some of them would even share with me, you know, I almost didn't come to school this first day of class because, you know, my roommate was telling me, what are you doing that for? Why are you trying to go to school? And, you know, and all this negativity that was around them. And so the class literally, you know, changed their life and enabled them to take control of their mindset and to own their own beliefs, to not accept what others' negative opinions, not to let those become their own, but to form their own beliefs, because we have so many suggestions around us constantly, you know, through media, through friends, through teachers, from everywhere, you know, as you were mentioning earlier too. And it's, you know, we're being bombarded by these suggestions that even our subconscious mind is picking up through music, through movies, through, and it's crazy in our minds. We have to learn to calm that down and to really think about our own beliefs and to talk to ourselves, to be our own mentor and say, hey, I am healthy. I am strong. I am going to eat healthy today, and I am going to get better and better. Every day is a new chance for a new beginning. So it's so exciting. You know, we are totally in control of our future. It all starts right here in the mind, you know, in the beliefs. So I love everything that you shared, because I'm totally on board and in that realm of teaching that. I've seen it change lives. Yeah. So exciting. So I wanted to mention something because you were talking about.
I heard from my mentor. Oh,
what's that?
Are you there?
Yeah.
What I heard from one of my mentors is you need to make sure you stand guard at the entrance of your mind, because if you don't, you know, and if you don't create a plan for yourself and for your life and for your destiny, there's going to be somebody else that's going to come along and write it for you.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Everyone's looking for the opportunity to do that these days, right? Everyone's looking for significance and certainty, and so most of us, there's only 1% of the population who actually takes control of their life. Everyone else just tries to kind of interfere with other people's lives because they're too scared to take control of their own. So
exactly. And it can be a battle for some, you know, but it can be a good thing. I think we just have to be aware and armed every day, because our own thoughts can run away, you know, and start to, you know, not think that we can do something or accomplish something, or we're not good enough, or comparing, you know. So you have to just really check yourself really quick and just change that to a positive thought, and just really tell yourself how great you are. But if you want to add anything to that, and then I wanted to talk about dairy a little bit, because I have a story to share.
I mean, I guess the only thing I would share, just to sum that up, is, you know, and I said this in a couple of the other lives, like, show me who you hang out with and I'll show you who you become, right? Yeah. So if you know, if you are looking for a community and you want to improve your lifestyle and you want to improve the food you're consuming and you want to improve all that, like, this bundle honestly there is no better place than this bundle to start, because this bundle, for the value, for $49, the amount of support you're gonna get, you know, it is mind-blowing. Like, Dr. Jim Loomis is offering a 3-month membership to the Center of Plant-Based Living, where you will get monthly coaching, you'll get quarterly calls with him. Dr. Ted Barnett has his Lifestyle is Medicine course, which is a 7-module course, which will teach you everything. You love dessert, you're gonna learn how to cook healthy desserts in Dr. RAWFOOD's course. You know, there's a whole course by Dr. McDougall on gut health. There's an exercise platform that you get lifetime membership to, fitness masterclasses, and then obviously like thousands of recipes. Like, you will literally, this whole week, I haven't even gone on Google, like, or any of my recipe books. I've literally only cooked from the bundle, and there are thousands of recipes, guys, literally. Like, maybe let me just show you some of the things that I have made this week. Like, it was my birthday, so I was on a dessert binge this week, but I didn't even feel bad because I'm so sorry you can't see this.
I know, and the replay I will.
Okay. So this coffee cake is phenomenal. It's from the Healthy Desserts recipe book by Healthy Emmy, I think her name is. But It is so good. It's like kind of like a banana cake, but a coffee cake, and it has like a date streusel. And it's, oh my gosh, it's so good. I made this whole cake, and I'm about to go drop some off at all of my neighbors' house. And then I made these like 3-ingredient peanut cookies, which are phenomenal. My kids have been loving these, and like this is breakfast, right? Like, and the beautiful thing is you have an abundance mindset. You're eating a cookie, so you don't feel like, oh, I can't eat cookies. Like, this literally has oats, peanut butter, and I think dates, maybe. That's it. Like, and they're so good. So if I give them to my kids for breakfast, I feel good about it. And I made this, which is yours. This is the chia seed pudding from your cookbook, and it was so easy to make, so simple to make. And the beauty is with any of these recipes, if you don't have anything on hand or everything on hand that the recipe calls for, you could just use what's in your fridge. So, you know, your recipe was super simple, and I had some leftover mango in my fridge and some shredded coconut, so I just added it to the blender, and now I have mango coconut chia seed pudding, and I added some cardamom, so it's actually mango coconut cardamom chia seed pudding, and my kids are gonna love this. So fiber, protein, vitamins, minerals, and like really there's no guilt in this. That's the beauty. So I made a giant blender full, and I think I put like 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. So that's really the only sweetener in there.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, there's such an abundance of recipes. I love the treats too. Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. There's so many treats in there. I like Amanda's Simply Sweet recipe book. She has some no-bake carrot cake bars in there. I've made a lot of her recipes during the bundle as well. So just Karen Ramsey has like a raw buckwheat pizza. And there's just so much from everybody. There's something for everybody. You know, as you're transitioning over to a plant-based lifestyle and you want to eat more healthy and fruits and veggies, you are going to find something in this bundle. There's over 2,000 recipes, courses, video courses, classes. There's just so much there. I like to recommend that you start out, you know, slowly. If it seems like, oh my gosh, there's so many great books, where do I start? Pick your favorites, look through them, and then just start with 1 or 2 recipes a week. And before you know it, as the weeks go by and the months go by, you're slowly going to transition and change your entire diet and your recipe creations. You're going to be like, wow, I'm eating so healthy now. I'm feeling better. Just start now, because if you don't, the time's going to pass anyways. So, you know, get the bundle if you haven't gotten it yet. You know, the link's in either of our bios, and you'll be happy you did, you guys. And, you know, this ends, you cannot get it anymore after tomorrow, Sunday, at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. That's the cutoff. So get it. You will be so happy that you did. You really will, because you have this material forever. You had 1 year to download it. But once you download it, which I recommend you do within the week, just get it done, you have that material forever. And like you're not going to be looking on Google for recipes, like you said, Dr. Simran. You're going to be looking at all your recipe books that you have. So I'm excited you made my chia pudding. And I think as recipe creators and chefs, we look at recipes, and like you said, we use what we have on hand. So all the recipes you can follow to a T, and some you do need to, like just to make it come out right. But others, most of them, you can just kind of add and just adapt to what you have on hand, and it works out beautifully. And you are going to empower yourself, and you're going to give yourself those skills to be able to create food for yourself and your family that's actually healthy and that actually tastes good. And that's essential, especially, you know, if you have kids, you know, teaching them, you know, to grow up and eat healthfully along the way, so they're going to prevent having any of these diseases. How much do your kids love like all this healthy food, Dr. Simran? Is it easy to incorporate this for them, or they've grown up this way, right?
This juicy pudding is so good. Sorry, I'm eating it.
Good. I'm glad. I'm so glad.
No, my kids, I mean, they have their staples. Like, we call my son, he's five and a half. We call him Dayshu because he's half made out of dates and half made out of cashews. But, you know, like, they come home from school now and they make their own little snack board. You know, we're big into charcuterie board, like vegan charcuterie board. So, like, they'll go in the pantry and they'll make themselves a board, but it'll be like, you know, they'll ask me to slice an apple. They'll put some almonds and they'll put some cashews. They'll get some dates. They'll get, you know, like, it's just kind of normal but now I will say they've had like a great appetite. They're growing well. You know, there's always this conception of like, you know, kids can't have plant-based. And again, there's so many misconceptions, and we have so many labels that put our kids in a box of like, this is kid food versus adult food, and this is, you know, and that's not a real thing. And so, you know, I would say, you know, my kids go through phases, and so sometimes they absolutely love broccoli, and other times they're into cauliflower. And so you have to talk to your kids. You have to involve them in the kitchen. We garden, we go to the grocery store, we cook recipes together. So I try to get them involved as much as I can. And they have a mood. Like, sometimes they're not into it, so I don't push them. But when they are, then we go all in. So just, you got to ask the kids. Like, they have opinions just like we do. So, you know, that's kind of it. But I want to hear your story before we wrap up. Speaking of my kids, I have to get them. So. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I will tell you guys my story here real quickly, and then I'll start actually with the dairy, because you reminded me when you were talking earlier, you know, about the dairy and how, you know, people think it's good for them and how we're just conditioned to kind of think that way. And actually, when I was little, like around 8, 9, 10, I remember I used to eat, you know, dairy, of course, and cheese, and I used to just eat cheese by the slice as a snack. And I remember not feeling good. I felt nauseous and I felt sick. And I actually started to explore like health and nutrition, believe it or not, at that age. And so when I was 11, I became a vegetarian. And I did it for the ethical standpoint and the health. So I loved animals, and I decided, you know, this is not for me. I'm not going to eat them. I love them too much. And I hate to see them suffer, and the cows behind their, you know, gates and all that stuff. So I didn't want to do that. And then I looked at the health aspect of it and started to really research the intestinal tract and digestive and elimination, and looked at, you know, the colon and what, you know, ours is really designed for, and how much meat takes to digest and process and eliminate, and how that can sit and putrefy and rot in the system and cause disease. And then I looked at the, you know, the colons of animals and the ones who are meat eaters, and how it's short, you know, their whole digestive tract and their colon, and so they eliminate quickly. So anyhow, I decided to become a vegetarian, and it was wonderful. My mom supported me the whole time, and even though I was the only vegetarian in the family. So for 26 years, I was a vegetarian, and then I transitioned into high raw vegan. So for the last 15 years, I've been high raw. Now, as a vegetarian, because vegetarians diet, you know, can have cheese and eggs and bread and all that stuff. So during that time, I didn't always feel the healthiest, you know. And after my pregnancies, I allowed myself to gain some weight. So then I became a high raw vegan, got really serious about my health, because when I graduated from high school, I wanted to be a holistic health practitioner. And so I knew better. I knew health and nutrition. It's just been engraved in me. I love studying the body, the anatomy, the physiology, everything. So when I let myself go and become unhealthy for those few years, I got chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Epstein-Barr, sleep apnea. I had gallstones, which I did go to the ER one time because it was so excruciating. I wanted to confirm what this was, and they confirmed that I had gallstones. And they wanted to take my gallbladder out the following week. But I was like, no, thank you. I'm going home. I'm going to heal myself. So I went on an intense detox, cleansing, and regenerating system with tons of fresh juices, raw foods, tonics, elixirs, herbs, tinctures, an entire program with hydrotherapy, all kinds. And I healed myself of, my gallstones. So I continued on that journey and just, became a raw food chef, a holistic health nutritionist, and just really just dove into this and went to the Optimum Health Institute in Lemon Grove, California. Probably that was like 22, 23 years ago. And just really love to help and support people to make them more aware of, how they can heal themselves if they choose to. They just have to start doing what's right for them and do it in enough time, prevention, and they can look forward to getting better and healthier as they age, as opposed to degenerating. And, I think that's something too in society where, we're conditioned to think that, oh, as you age, you're supposed to feel worse. And you go through menopause, you're supposed to feel worse, and it's like, no, you can actually get better and feel healthier as you're aging. It's your cells are made out of what you are eating. So each year, whatever your health is, look back the year before. How were you living? What were you eating? Because that's who you are now. Yeah. And so who you want to be tomorrow and next month and next year and 5 years is what you're doing right now. So yeah, I'm excited and just passionate about sharing that message and helping people get healthier. I've done it, and it's exciting to see the results in others as well as yourself.
No, for sure. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for having me on. And I'm so grateful we're both part of this bundle. It's good lives, and you guys, you need to get it. The link is in either one of our bios. Yeah. It's everything you need to get you on the right track. And if you have any questions, you can send us a DM, but
please. Yeah.
Thank you, Rosie. It was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Simran. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Bye. And blessings and lots of love. Bye-bye.
Bye.